news time. But first, as you might have heard yesterday, almost half of all schools in England have no black or minority ethnic teachers. And even where there is the diversity among staff, senior leadership teams invariably are not from BAME backgrounds. This, according to researchers from UCL's Institute for Education, suggests that minority ethnic pupils can go through school without seeing their background represented in their teachers. I'm joined by Maurice Mcleod, Chief Executive of Race on the Agenda. He's also Labour Councillor for Queenstown Battersea. Maurice, thank you for your time this morning. This research then finding that nearly half of all schools in England have no black, minority or minority ethnic teachers. Is that surprising, firstly?
Hello, Darren. It's probably not surprising, but it's disappointing. I mean, these sorts of figures have been around for a while, and lots of different education departments have made lots of effort to try and improve their numbers of their recruitment, basically. There's been slight improvements, but we're still, as you say, we're still in a place where half the schools in Britain don't have any black or Asian teachers, which is, in 2020, is not how they should be, basically.
What do you think has caused this, or is causing this?
From the report itself, it's suggesting that there's a real challenge with recruitment, so making sure that you actually hire, from a diverse pool. But more importantly, I think that the issue seems to be with retention. It seems that quite a few black and Asian teachers go through training, they start their careers, and within 5 years they decided that actually it's not for them. That's a much higher rate than for white teachers. The suggestion in the report is that, as well as the burden that most teachers have to take on, they also have to deal with issues of racism at the school. So, both stuff that happened to them and stuff, I guess, that they see happening to pupils.
So the teachers themselves from BAME backgrounds are experiencing racism at the hands of other staff or the hands of pupils?
Yeah, no, at the hands of the staff. But I think it's more accurate to say at the hands of the system. I think it's important to point out that we're not talking about incidents of bullying, although all those things exist. We're not talking about individual acts of racism or discrimination. We're talking about the system working against a certain type of teacher and a certain type of pupil.
In terms of representation, how much of a problem is this? Because I think back, and this is the only example I can give, because I'm not a parent and I've never been a teacher, but I have been a child. I think back a long way to when I was. And, I didn't see, for example, a male teacher until I was in secondary school. The entirety of my primary school, for 7 years, I was taught by female teachers. And obviously being male, one might argue that is a representation issue. I didn't feel unrepresented. It didn't feel problematic to me. Is it problematic for children of BAME backgrounds not to be taught by teachers from a similar backgrounds?
Yes, in a short answer. I mean, it's really good that you bring up the issue of gender, because there's lots of evidence that the fact that hardly any men go into teaching to a primary school is a problem, and there's reports suggesting that some of the issues that young boys have going through school is not seeing at the very earliest stages people that are role models who are the same gender as them. And now, obviously a good teacher can teach anyone. Let's be clear. A good teacher can teach. No matter what your identity is, they can deal with any challenges, and they can really put themselves in and work with pupils. But it absolutely is an advantage if the person who's teaching you, the role model, let's say, is someone that you can imagine yourself growing into.
It's a difficult time, isn't it, for schools for obvious reasons, and it's always been, certainly for the last couple of years, it seems, there's been a difficulty around the idea of recruitment and retention generally, as far as the teaching profession is concerned, and for those reasons, a difficult time to perhaps persuade people from a BAME background to investigate the possibility of becoming a teacher.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd argue if one thing this pandemic should have shown us is who really matters in society, and our teachers, our care workers, these are the people that really mattered. I'm a local councillor, and I saw some of the teachers in my local area really. Everyone thinks that there was lockdowns, therefore the teachers weren't doing everything. They were working so hard, making sure kids weren't left behind, going around to their houses if needs be, setting up digital stuff if that was possible. So I think what needs to happen is that we need to reward teachers better, and then you'll end up with it be an attractive career, and then then hopefully you can have your pick of the best teachers. At the moment, sadly, it's seen as a really hard career that doesn't really reward you very much financially, anyway.
And something else which is picked up on by this research from UCL, and I think we touched briefly on this, but the leadership teams in schools, even where the teaching staff have diversity, the leadership teams, those who are the heads and at the top of the tree, if you will, are almost always white and not from a BAME background. And that does, I think, speak to the systemic problems that you were touching on earlier.
It absolutely does. I think this is... It's really good that the report makes this finding, because we can look at teacher numbers and say, there's more Black Asian teachers coming in, so that's a good thing. But if you look at the actual people making the decisions, the senior leadership team, the SLT as they're called, of schools, they're even in, as you say, even in areas with 90-odd% of pupils being diverse, you still, from diverse backgrounds, you still end up with often with all the senior teachers being white, all the actual leaders of the school, the people that set the curriculum and decide on the processes, and that, schools need to reflect the communities that they serve, like everything. That's how you end up with good service to a community.
Maurice, thank you. That is Maurice Mcleod, Chief Executive of Race on the Agenda and Labour Councillor for Queenstown Battersea.